So I've had my Steam Deck for about 6 months now, and I can tell you this, not even a day went without me using this. You know, it just somehow kept calling me to it like, my pressure. I mean, the prospect of playing AAA games on the go really is addictive. You know, I love my Nintendo Switch, but Steam Deck is Switch on steroids. And honestly, the joy of playing both old and new AAA games in almost its full glory on this handheld just hits different. I don't know what it is, it's just so good. So specs wise, Steam Deck is a very capable device. You know, it has the latest AMD Zen 2 CPU, 8-core RDNA2 GPU with up to 1.6 teraflops, then 16 GB LPDDR5 memory, out of which 8 GB is accessible via the GPU, 7-inch 60Hz 1280 x 800 IPS screen with 400 nit brightness. For storage, you can choose between 3 different models. The lowest tier being 64 GB storage, which comes in at $400 or £349, and then mid-tier 256 GB SSD, which comes in at $530 or £459, and then finally the 512 GB, which is $650 and £569. This is the one I have, and looks-wise, there is no difference at all between the models, except for the accessories that comes with it. And also the top tier, the one I have, comes with a premium anti-glare etched glass. When looking at Deck's design, it is impossible not to draw a comparison to the Nintendo Switch, right? I mean, it has a screen in the middle, 2 controls on either side with analog sticks on the front and trigger buttons on the top. You know, the biggest difference obviously is the size, you know, with Steam Deck being significantly larger in both width and depth, despite having the same 7-inch screen size as the Switch OLED. Yeah, right? I mean, when I saw that, I was like, okay, I didn't realize the screen size was the same. But despite weighing more than the Switch at 669 grams, the Steam Deck does actually feel pretty good. You know, I've been able to play games on the Deck for several hours without my arms aching. I would say Valve's done a really good job distributing the weight across the device. So the Steam Deck's outer shell is entirely made of plastic. You know, the material feels nice in my hands with the smooth rounded edge preventing it from digging into my palms. There is a wide vent right at the top which blasts out hot air while playing a game. There have been occasions where the fans have kicked up a gear and become really loud, although never to the extent of, say, something like a high-end gaming laptop or PlayStation 4. I'm sure you remember that. Now, Valve has adopted the same controller layout as the Xbox pad, you know, albeit the analog sticks in a parallel position. You also get a D-pad in the top left corner, which is easy to reach. You also get a Steam button, which can load up the Deck's system settings, as well as a quick access button, which flashes up the most important settings in a small menu without forcing you to leave your game. I found this really useful for connecting Bluetooth peripherals or adjusting the performance settings on the fly. You know, you also get screenshot and in-game menu buttons, which are obviously common on modern day controls these days. You will also notice a square-shaped pad on either side of the Deck screen. You know, these are the track pads which allow you to control a mouse cursor with gentle swipes. You know, I found the right-sided trackpad incredibly useful, especially for desktop mode to install apps and browse through folders. Also comes very handy with mouse-based point-and-click adventure type games, which I tend to play quite a lot, so that's very handy. On the top, you will find a power button, a USB-C port for charging, a headphone jack, and volume buttons. You also get 2 bumpers and triggers. While there is haptic feedback, it is nowhere near as good as the superb adaptive triggers on, say, PlayStation 5. Plus, you know, it's sort of a battery drainer, so I kind of keep mine switched off. Now, if you want to hook up external controllers, you can. But since this doesn't have a built-in stand like the Switch, I would only really recommend this if you're outputting to an external display, you know, such as your TV or monitor, which I think sort of defeats the whole portability factor, right? The Steam Deck has onboard speakers, and I'm genuinely surprised by how good they are. I'm sure most people will connect their Bluetooth or wired headphones, but honestly, the speakers here are so loud and detailed, I think it is totally fine to go without using headphones. So the Steam Deck features a 7-inch 60Hz touchscreen with 1280 x 800 resolution, which is not quite full HD, but at this size, it doesn't really matter. You know, everything looks sharp, with no noticeable pixelation when playing AAA games. Also the 800p resolution allows the deck to hit a smooth performance for vast majority of the game. So, having that full HD doesn't really make much difference. The screen doesn't look quite as vibrant as a Nintendo Switch OLED, with colors appearing a little bit subdued in comparison, but I guess given the cost of the specs inside the Steam Deck, I can understand why they're very reluctant to add an OLED panel and drive the price even further. Now, if you want to use an external monitor, Valve has now launched the Steam Deck docking station. There are a multitude of ports on this dock, including DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.0, Ethernet, and 3 into USB-A. This will obviously set you back £79 here in the UK, not something I will personally buy, but because this is obviously meant to be played as a portable console, so I don't really see a reason to hook up to a screen, but it's there as an option if you really want to do it. As you would have guessed, Steam is the main platform for buying games, and this device runs on SteamOS. Now, Valve has done a really good job adding a special Steam Deck compatibility tick for a vast majority of AAA games and indie games. This list is growing on a daily basis. This is very handy for you to know if a game will definitely work on the deck or not. You can also play games you purchased on Epic Store or GOG by installing a third-party app called Heroic Games. Now, this is pretty straightforward to install via desktop mode, and playing these games from these stores are no different to using Steam. Now, if you're really into playing olden games from other systems, this is a perfect machine for emulation. This app called EmuDeck, which supports vast majority of all systems from original PlayStation all the way to Wii U. I've only really played Zelda Twilight Princess using the GameCube emulator, but it works perfectly well. Here, take a look. Now let's talk about some of my favorite games on this console, right? I've been mostly replaying older games because there is something about playing them all again on the small screen. It just feels different in a good way. Of course, I have plenty of new games too. So here are my top 5 games that I've played most so far on this device. Number 1, Tales Arise. Now this is a game that I never played when it came out. Just not the type of game I usually play. But I decided to pick this up during Steam sale, and oh boy, it is such an amazing game to play on the go. I'm honestly addicted to its combat and story. It runs so well and looks amazing on the screen too. Next up, Resident Evil 2 Remake. Now, this is a game I beat on PSO when it came out a couple of years ago, but I tell you what, I'm having so much fun playing this on the screen again. I don't remember having this much fun back when I played on PlayStation. It just looks so good and runs so well, honestly, like such a good looking game, AAA game on this small portable machine is stuff of dream, I tell you. Take note, Nintendo. Next up, Uncharted: The Legacy of Thieves Collection. Now, this is another game I beat back in the days on PlayStation, but playing these 2 games on Steam Deck is pure joy. Now if you're a fan of Uncharted series like I am, this is guaranteed to make you want to play from start to finish it again. As I said with other games, it looks and runs very well. Next up, number 4 on the list, Titanfall 2. One of my all-time favorite first-person shooter, and it is a blast on Steam Deck. Reliving the single-player story again on Steam Deck was so much fun, and all this while looking absolutely amazing. And lastly, number 5, Devil May Cry 5. So I played this back when it was released on PlayStation again, and when I installed this on my Steam Deck, my expectations were low because this is such a fast-paced hack and slash game, and I wasn't sure if Steam Deck would be able to handle it, but tell you what, this plays like a dream. Almost the perfect game for this machine. Now, obviously there are tons of other games I've played, and these are the ones I recommend. Witcher 3, Portal 2, Half-Life 2, Jedi Fallen Order, Control, all these run perfectly well, and as I said earlier, it just feels so special on the screen. With all these AAA games running so well, honestly, Nintendo Switch ain't got nothing on deck. Hopefully this will finally get Nintendo to bring more powerful hardware to the market. I'm honestly excited for portable space. For me, the biggest weak point about Steam Deck is the battery life. Now, it isn't necessarily bad, but it can be very bad playing AAA games in full glory. SteamOS gives you plenty of options to customize the usage to get more out of your battery, But when you get to an hour, hour and a half, it kind of starts to die. You know, playing games like Witcher or Tales Arise, it leaves a lot to be desired. Now, you obviously have the option of carrying an external battery pack, but it makes it less portable with the added weight, I guess. When it comes to game stores compatibility, while SteamOS is fantastic and added support of GOG and Epic via Heroes Games Launcher is great, there are other stores which I wish could have been natively supported. You know, main example being Xbox PC games. Now, I'm a Game Pass subscriber and there are a lot of good stuff there I wish I could play on here natively and not streaming. You know, other stores not being supported include Rockstar and Ubisoft, where again I have plenty of games that I bought in the past. I mean, I know there are workarounds to make these things work, but you know, this makes the Steam Deck look more like a PC and less of a console. Not a big deal, but I really hope they bring support for these apps in the future natively. Now lastly, again, this is not a massive deal, but we have to talk about storage. Now I have the biggest 512 GB Steam Deck, but that is nowhere near enough to hold many more than AAA games. You know, for example, Uncharted is almost 130 GB. You know, after this you can fit like 5 more games on the inbuilt SSD. Obviously you have the option of increasing storage with micro SD. You know, I have the 512 GB, which makes it a total of 1 TB on the system. But I find this constantly full as I want to install and try more and more games. The 1 TB micro SD card is about £190, which is obviously very expensive. So, you know, hopefully the next Steam Deck will have larger storage choices from the get-go. So in conclusion, the Steam Deck is a game changer, no doubt about it, right? PC games have never been so accessible, while SteamOS offers a console-like experience, and the excellent portable design allows users to play all the modern AAA titles on the go, you know, from the likes of Elden Ring, Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted, etc. And I must say, things are looking really bright in the portable space. Now, obviously it does have a few shortcomings with inadequate battery life, you know, struggling to cope up with AAA games for more than a couple of hours. But with Valve promising long-term software support, I'm excited to see how the Steam Deck will evolve and improve in the next few years. You know, with Valve already working on the next iteration of Steam Deck, I'm super excited to see where this device can go. You know, an OLED screen and maybe a bigger battery will be on my wish list, but I can tell you this, PC game will never be the same again. You know, I've been taking this with me during all my travels and it's such a blast to have this with me, especially on a long flight. Anyways, if you made it all the way here, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I will see you next time.